What's up, guys? Austin back again with another long play video. This time we've done M.U.S.H.A for the Sega Genesis. Now this was actually a long play that I wasn't expecting to succeed at because I hadn't really played this game in about a year. And if I don't play a game, you know, before doing the long play, shortly before doing the long play, I'm usually very rusty at it. And that's the case with this game, but somehow I still managed to beat the entire game on the default normal difficulty without dying. I don't know if I've ever actually completed this game without dying, but I have now. Last night, actually, as I recorded this gameplay footage. So, yeah, this is a very, I guess you could say, highly regarded shoot 'em up for the Sega Genesis, and for a great reason, in my opinion. I'm gonna go into that gradually as the game progresses. Normally, I just kind of gloat about the game uncontrollably, straight from the very beginning of the video. But here we've got basically the intro, and it's actually well done considering it's a 1990 game, in my opinion. It's got the cool background scrolling and the nice big anime style visuals, and it just looks good. Even today it looks fine to me, and the translation was actually good. There aren't any spelling errors, there aren't any grammatical errors either, as far as I can tell. So that's that's also unique for the time. 1990 games are typically yeah, well, let's just say a lot of some of the most popular Nintendo games came out in 1990. So, and we all know how bad some of the translations were in those games. So basically, what's gonna happen is I think I'm just gonna get into the options menu and make sure everything's set correctly, and then get started right on into the game. And in the meantime, I'm gonna actually switch up headphones because the pair I have on right now is just way too tight. I say that because this long play is about 50 minutes long. After I completed the game last night, I realized it took about 50 minutes to get through it. So I'm trying to actually crank this one out before I have to go to work, and so yeah. Yeah, much better. Although the volume is never as loud in this pair of headphones. So, we're already into the game, and, well, let me just go back a step. I like to wear comfortable headphones when I do this because, well, basically what I do is I have one cup in one ear, so I can still kind of hear the gameplay sound. It lets me talk about the music and sound effects and so forth a little bit better instead of just talking out of memory. And plus, if a specific tune triggers, you know, I can be like, oh, this is my favorite tune in the game, yada yada yada, which is actually probably the first level tune right here. The music in this game is phenomenal. It's a very great, awesome, driving, well-produced, good-sounding soundtrack. It's not going to be for everybody because it is kind of aggressive music, at least aggressive by video game standards. But it's very melodic. It's very memorable, in my opinion, anyways. I love how it's just very aggressive. Like right here, it sounds like it's basically guitar shredding on the Genesis's synth. So that's what it sounds like to me. I've always pictured this game to basically have video game metal music. That's what it was to me. It was so fast and so driving and so shred-like. But then, like right here, it just busts out into a nice melody and it just continues on for like another 30 seconds. I mean, whoever made the music in this game just did a phenomenal job, in my opinion. And the soundtrack doesn't stop through the rest of the game. It's just a great soundtrack. Not every track is extremely driving and fast and completely melodic like this. Some of them are a little bit slower. They just fit, for instance, like the stage 4 where it's kind of lightning in the background, or it's the dark level where, you know, lightning keeps striking, and just the music for that stage just goes very well with it. So, soundtrack is awesome in this game, but going back even more, more than just a few steps, I wanted to talk about the little arrows at the top of the screen. When I first got into this game, you notice I hit start a few times and was adjusting my arrows up there, and what that is your speed. The less arrows you have, meaning you push it to the left, the slower your guy will go, and the more areas you have, the faster you will go. And what I typically do early on in the game is I like to keep, you know, a moderate speed or a moderate pace. This speed right here is actually, I think, an arrow or two faster than I normally play as early on in the game. Later on in the game, and trust me on this, you basically have to play at maybe not quite max speed, but I would recommend it. And that's what I do later on in the game as well. Which is probably why I don't die in parts I usually die at, because if I remember correctly, I don't usually even play it fast on the fastest speed throughout even later parts in the game, but it's something I learned on this playthrough that I probably should have done when I was younger, when I was really into this game. And the thing is, in this game, they really start piling on the homing missiles, and the homing missiles can be a little difficult to avoid unless you're at a very high speed. So just keep that in mind. You'll see that as the video goes on and continues on. I don't think the homing missiles are introduced until at least the 3rd or 4th level, so we don't have to worry about those quite yet. But this first level is very long and drawn out. It's actually, a lot of the levels are kind of long and drawn out, and that could be seen as good or bad to some people. Bad in that it can get a little repetitive, like you know, they repeat a lot of the same buildings and so forth, and same building patterns in this first stage. But as you can see right here, it's starting to get mixed up a little bit, you know, with all the wire tracks and so forth. Then we'll head back onto land and we'll get to the boss. But it is very long nonetheless. It's so when the few people out there that actually don't care for this game, some of the aspects they dislike and some of the aspects that bring down the points on this game is the repetition, how it just gets very repetitive to a degree. I guess it all depends on your tolerance, really. But the M.U.S.H.A series, which this is a part of the M.U.S.H.A series. This was actually just called, I think it was M.U.S.H.A in Japan. Other than that, if not that, it was just M.U.S.H.A. And you can actually download the Japanese ROM and you can check it out yourself. Basically the same thing as far as I remember. I don't know if anything was cut out or censored. I never did complete the Japanese version. Actually, I discovered this game way back in the day because of the Japanese ROM. This is back in the mid-90s when emulation was new to me, anyways, very new to me, and then that got me to track down an actual copy way back then, and finding out that it was called M.U.S.H.A over here. So, but I was on some other tangent and I got onto another tangent, and now I forgot what that first tangent was. Oh yeah, repetition. Yeah. I don't even know where I was going with that one either. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say that, you know, a lot of people say that this game's repetitious, and it can be, and to me, how repetitive it gets really depends on your tastes. But that's how the M.U.S.H.A series was before this game. This was technically I think it's the 3rd game in the series. Maybe not counting Xanac. Xanac's kind of a part of it. I thought that was also made by Compile. Compile is the company that made these games. Unfortunately, I don't think they're around anymore, which is a shame. But they did some really awesome, impressive stuff way back when. For instance, they started the M.U.S.H.A series on, I think it started on home computers in Japan, including the MSX. The MSX computer was, through emulation anyways, because that was one of the systems I emulated way back in the 90s. I played the first two M.U.S.H.A games on the MSX, and they were very cool, but they were very repetitive for what they were. They weren't super exciting shooters. I mean, they were exciting in that there was a ton going on, which you don't actually see replicated as much in this game. This game's more about the aesthetics, from what I can tell. Just the backgrounds are awesome. The soundtrack is awesome. The graphics for 1990 are very large. The sprites are huge in this game for 1990. You gotta remember, you gotta sit this next to games like, well, basically anything else that was out on the Genesis in 1990. This just basically kicked the crap out of visually and sound-wise, and, you know, the smoothness of the gameplay. There's very little slowdown in this game, you know, things like that. But the M.U.S.H.A series was really repetitive prior to this game, and I think this game corrects that a little bit, but it still shares that repetitive nature, and that's one thing that I think some people don't like about this game. Actually, a buddy of mine, he actually reviewed this game, and he really didn't care for it all that much, and he had just played it for the first time in 2011, and there were a few complaints from him, and I think the repetition part was one of them. He thought it gave the game a kind of a bland persona. It was just very, you know, the repetition just made it kind of boring. And again, maybe it all comes down to your taste, but personally, I enjoy the game. And I kind of like how it is the way it is. Personally, I don't really see any need for change or anything like that. I think it's pretty solid for what it is. It used to be my absolute favorite shooter of all time at one point, and I'd say it's still up there as being my favorite or one of my favorites from the 16-bit generation. And but yeah, I'm not sure if it's aged the best in terms of the gameplay, you know, repetition and things like that. But there is always the hard mode, which I thought about playing this on after I beat this game, but I decided that it was too late in the morning, and I would pass on it. It was like 6 a.m. when I completed this game, and I usually go to work around 3:30, so it was about bedtime for me. Yeah, alright, I've basically just been talking about aspects of this game, not really the gameplay so much, but just more or less reminiscing, and that's what I tend to do sometimes on these long play videos, because some games really don't have a whole lot of, I don't want to say they don't have a whole lot of skill involved. I mean, like this game, you definitely have to pay attention, otherwise you're gonna die, and that's typical for just about any shooter, even if it's really difficult or not. You know, you gotta pay attention. It's not like a Mega Man game where you can just stop and just hold your breath, you know, for a few moments. If you drop the controller in this game, you're done, you're toast. But again, this is a game it was an early shooter, or an early shooter in terms of where we are today in 2011, almost hitting 2012, where the average shoot 'em up today is by cave, and it can be of the bullet hell style, with these really deep scoring engines, or not scoring engines, but these really deep scoring systems and so forth that take a little while to learn, and wow, hours and hours and hours to master, weeks for some people, and years like me, and decades. No, that's not that bad. But M.U.S.H.A is you know, most 16-bit shooters are very simplistic. They don't have these deep scoring systems or anything like that. So really, there's not a whole lot to learn in this game. You got your little power-ups there. There's that blue icon floating. What happens is there's 3 different power-ups. You got the blue one, which is basically a shield. You got your green one, which is your forward shooting lasers. And then you've got the orange one. I was going to say brown. It's orange, brown, something like that. Maybe a hybrid of the two. Brown-orange. It does sort of a grenade kind of shot, and in my opinion, the orange shot is the best if it's at level 3. And is it at, no, it's at level 4 right now. It's maxed out right now. And one interesting thing that's really good about these weapons is they actually act as a shield. So when you get these special capsules right there, so I'll get one. And now I basically have an extra hit, so I can get hit, but I'll lose my secondary weapon, my blue shield that's floating around me right now. So I actually use that to my advantage in this game. And this is kind of where I was going with this, is there's one tactic that I suggest you get used to, and that is taking advantage of the fact that these weapons are your shields at the same time. You get one extra hit when you have one of these weapons equipped. But since the best weapon is the level 3, or the best weapon to me is the level 3 of the orange shot, well, what do you do when you're up to level 4? Well, you purposely run yourself into a wall or into a bullet and you get hit. And when you lose your weapon, it'll also downgrade it. So the next time you pick it up, it'll be reversed a level. So instead of being at level 4 on the orange shot or the grenade shot, you'll be at level 3. And that's what you'll see me do quite a bit, and that's what I did right here. The cool thing about the level 3 orange shot is that it shoots out 3 bullets, basically, 3 grenades, and they just completely trail across the screen. It cuts through everything and doesn't stop. And that's one thing that the laser can't do, and it's one thing that the blue shield can't do either. Now the blue shield is kind of cool at level 4 because not only does it rotate around you and that damages enemies very slightly anyways, it also shoots these little blue shots up. They're very subtle and they rapidly blink, and so it's pretty cool. It also turns into a slightly offensive weapon at the level 4. The laser is the coolest looking, easily by far. It's just blasting out of the top of your character's pack, but it's not very powerful, honestly. And in my opinion, you're best sticking with the level 3 orange/red shot, whatever you want to call it. And you'll actually see me purposely running into a lot of bullets. I've already done it 3 or 4 times already in that last stage alone. And yeah, highly recommend just using that to your advantage. And that's really the only special tactic with this game that I'd recommend going for. I mean, I'm sure there's some other better ways to play safe. I'm obviously not a pro at this game. I'm not going to be posting in the M.U.S.H.A high score section or the shmups.com forums. I'm not going to be posting this in their high score section. I might post it in their YouTube section, since I did beat it without dying, and which is kind of unusual for me. It's not a difficult game, but I'm sure there's going to be a person or two that wants to watch this that hasn't completed it and maybe doesn't even want to play this game. They just want to see it all the way through. They want to see it through to the end. So yeah, I don't really have any other massive awesome tips. One thing that's cool about this game is that you do have the little side pods, and that is denoted by the form underneath your speed meter up top. And by tapping the A button, I believe you can actually change their formation. They can rotate around you and shoot in multiple directions. I typically like doing the 3-way, where you've got your main straight ahead shot, but then they shoot and, well, off to the side, giving you a wider hit radius. Now another cool one is the reverse function, and they'll actually sit inside of you, and they'll shoot opposite to where you're going. So if you move left, they'll shoot right. It's pretty cool, pretty useful too. And actually, it's very useful for one main reason, is that if your little side pods get hit, they get destroyed. And that's also denoted by your number next to your lives up top. And if you want to try to save them or try to retain them a little bit longer, you can use the reverse form function, which actually sits them right in the middle of your ship. And the only way they can really get hit is if you completely smash into something, or if you move too fast, because they kind of trail behind you a little bit. They're a little bit slower moving than you are. They take a little while to catch up, and if you move really fast, you'll notice that they're kind of lagging behind as I'm moving all the way back and forth across the screen. So that's really the only way they're going to get hit, if you use the reverse function. There's also a behind the back shot, which also acts kind of like the 3-way, but it goes behind you. Not the most useful in my opinion, because there really aren't a whole lot of enemies that actually come from behind you in this game. I think there's a couple, but nothing serious. And other than that, there's also just the straight ahead, and that's pretty good too, but again, I just prefer the three-way shot. So here I'm kind of messing around with the level 4 grenade / orange shot, and it kind of puts out this little black hole thing, and it's good in that you can kind of just pull enemies to a specific side of the screen to make them easier to kill. But you have to be careful with that. You can't just keep holding it down. You kind of have to time it, because every time, I don't know, if you got a steady stream of enemies, the black hole will get closer and closer and closer to you, and it gets riskier and riskier and riskier. So what I recommend is actually kind of like going to a side of the screen, shooting it just to get the enemy over there, to make dodging a little bit easier. And I think I actually do that on this boss here. Once you crack this first form off, the black hole will actually work on him, and the remaining half of the boss's body will get sucked in by it. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty useful for something like this. But again, I just prefer just kind of fighting these bosses the old-fashioned way. And brain fart. Prefer just fighting the bosses the old-fashioned way, and you know, just dodging and having the orange shot or the grenade shot. So again, you can see those homing missiles. If you don't have your speed up, it can be really difficult to get around them. And yeah, you can shoot through them, but they don't go down just like that. It takes like a moment for the missiles to die or explode. And so I recommend just keeping your speed all the way up, and then you know, just flying around them as quickly as you can. So this is another level that gets very repetitive. The background just it keeps recycling basically the same little bit of the background over and over. However, it does have these battleships you have to fight, and they're actually the most challenging part of this stage too. And so they help mix it up a little bit, and then it's got the mini boss and then the end boss as usual. So, but this is actually this has one of my favorite tracks in the game. And again, it's just very fast, very metal, very driving, but it just busts out like a really good metal track. It busts out into a nice solo towards the end. Just gets very melodic, and it's very, very good. Probably my favorite track up there, next to the very first level song. Well, not really a song because there aren't any lyrics, but you know, you know what I'm saying. Alright, I'm gonna actually take a quick break. I'll be right back. Alright, so now we got these battleships here. The first one is the hardest, if I remember correctly, because it comes in from the left-hand side or something like that. And yeah, what you want to do with these things is try to destroy the turrets as quickly as possible, because once you get a few of them on screen, it can get a little tricky, because their bullets just come straight towards you. And along with the other enemies that are coming in, it could be a little hard to dodge them, especially with the size of your ship. The size of your ship in this game isn't quite conventional. It's pretty large, actually, compared to most other shooters at the time. And even most shooters of now, considering the hitboxes these days is usually like 1 pixel or something crazy small like that. very small hitboxes anyways. So what you want to do is just go straight for the turrets, but that first one, since it comes in from the side, most of the turrets are there. It's really hard to destroy them, so you kind of have to just dodge your way through, and which is basically what I did. And the other ships in the stage aren't that hard though, because they all come from the top, so you can destroy the turrets as they come onto the screen. So instead of having 5, 6, 7, 8 turrets automatically on the screen, and there's nothing you can do about it, you know, you can destroy them one by one as they come on. So it makes life a little bit easier. So now this guy right here, he's kind of like a recurring theme in this game. I don't know if he's like one of the main villains or something like that. I don't remember the story to this game. I haven't read the instruction manual in a very long time, probably not since the 90s, but yeah, he reoccurs. He's the main boss in this level. No, not this level. It's the next level he's the main boss, because the next level has the lava background as well. I always get confused, or I get the two levels mixed together, because it's easy to do so, because of the repetitive backgrounds to a degree. And, but you also fight him at the last level as well, after you actually fight the final boss. I guess technically you could say he is the final boss, but he's really a joke compared to the normal final boss. Even the normal final boss can be considered a joke, but I think he's just cool. I like the implementation or execution of the final boss. It's not difficult, but it's fun. It's a good ender in my opinion. It's different than most of the rest of the bosses in the game. So this boss has the dreaded homing missiles as well, and she shoots them out, or I guess he or it was a she at first. It shoots them out kind of quickly, so you want to have your speed very fast. I usually made the mistake when I was younger of getting to this boss and having my speed set low, making dodging the missiles almost impossible. So, and I would get killed pretty easily. And I recommend just, you know, keeping your speed up for the rest of the game if you can. And I think I've actually cranked it all the way up at this point, so. And again, you don't want to pick up every canister, you don't want to pick up every power-up, or at least the main 3 power-ups that you can. I forgot to discuss that there are those little canisters that come out, and they drop tiny little power capsules or something like that. And you want to make sure you grab every single one of those that you possibly can. Anyways, I do a pretty poor job most of the way through. There's a lot of canisters where I miss like 1 or 2. Or even 3 of the little power-up cans that come out, just like right there. Basically, when you pick those up, they add to your little option count at next to your life bar. So, since your options and your little pods that help you out, they die pretty quickly or get destroyed pretty quickly, you want to make sure you're always replenishing those, especially towards the end of the game. You don't lose them very quickly towards the end of the game. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself now. Haha. You don't lose them very quickly in the beginning of the game, but at the end of the game, they're going to be dropping like flies, so you want to make sure you have as many as you have. And again, this level has some sort of battleship type things, but they're a little bit different. They have little turrets on them, so again, go for the turrets, but they have these massive lasers too, and you want to be careful to stay out of their way. They shoot, and then they stop for about 2 seconds, giving you time to hit them, and then they shoot again, and they can be destroyed, and you'll see me doing that a couple times on a couple of them, but there's one right there. And these little blue guys that come down the screen in waves, they actually take more hits than the average small enemy does. So you got to be careful with those guys too, and they actually shoot at you, unlike some of the other small enemies in this game. So the best I can recommend in something like this is just focus on a single turret if you can, unless you absolutely have to be moving, then just keep swiping back and forth like I was doing there. But when I first got to it, you'll notice I was just going for one turret, kind of sitting on top of it, trying to clear them out one by one, because the less turrets there are, the less bullets that are coming out. So always go for the turrets first, it'll make your life a little bit easier. But and what I've done here is I've actually set my form to free, and I've let the little guys just go after the little turrets as well while I'm dodging. It's useful, but again, they'll die the fastest. Your little pods will die the fastest if you have them on free mode. And here's this guy. He's not very difficult. He's shoots out these sort of homing little blue fireballs, if you will. They actually look kind of cool. They animate pretty smoothly for what they are. They just kind of like wiggle across the screen and they come after you. And it's a good contrast to you know, the rest of the dark red, you know, brownish background. So as long as you keep your speed up here, you should be fine. So there's usually a window of opportunity to just dodge through them, and it's not very difficult. Most of the bosses in this game actually aren't very difficult, so long as you have your speed up. If you have your speed down, for instance, the stage 4 boss, it can be really difficult to dodge their missiles. So just keep your speed up, and then you're good to go. Alright, so at the very final stage now, and I believe there's 2 main bosses here before we get to the actual final boss, and this is the first one right here. He's kind of like one of the mid-bosses. And he's not too difficult. He just does this spread shot, basically. Not too hard to avoid. The next one is a little more challenging because I think he has homing missiles, so again, you want to be sped up. But this level actually introduces a different kind of enemy attack, and that's these like little black spiky things that they shoot out, and they can't be destroyed, and your bullets get stopped by them. So you want to be careful about those, not to run into them, and try not to shoot them because your bullets aren't going to go through them either. You can kind of like right here. Yeah. They're more like just missiles that you can't destroy. So, and you can kind of guide them too. They're sort of, I'm assuming, sort of heat-guided kind of things, and they kind of go where you are. But they don't come back. Once they're outside of the screen, they're gone. So, gotta love that background scrolling. This was one of the things, the background scrolling was one of the things this game was just heralded for back in the day. Apparently it just had some crazy background scrolling. It was easily the best scrolling on the Sega Genesis up until this game came out, and then of course the next year you had games like Sonic the Hedgehog that had some ridiculous background layers, and but this game was by far probably the most impressive Sega Genesis game up to you know, the Genesis is, I don't know, well, after when 1991 came around, you know, that's really when the Genesis started catching on in America. Anything prior to that was there was some impressive stuff, but I think M.U.S.H.A was the most impressive of it, and it still holds up pretty well. I mean, you can't go wrong with shit tons of background scrolling like that ever. Never. You can never go wrong with shit tons of background scrolling. And, but, yeah, it was very impressive back in 1990. This game's 21 years old. It's hard to believe, but, I can go on that tangent for a long time, but I won't. This is the first form to the final boss. All you have to do is hit the middle part of him. That little blue box will shoot some lasers out, so be careful about that. Now this one could be a little more tricky, but it just takes some patience, that's all. You gotta shoot these 2 green orbs on the left and right hand side. And the boss drops a ball, which bounces over the screen, kind of breakout in Arkanoid style. So you have to make sure you don't run into that, as you will get hit. Now this last one is the trickiest by far. It is he shoots these little green spots down, and when they hit the wall, they actually come out. These little like tree-like things come out, and they'll kill you if you run into them. That first one didn't kill me for some odd reason. I have no idea why, but when I got to this boss, I completely forgot about what it did. Because to be honest with you, I haven't beaten this game. Oh man, I can't even remember the last time I beat this game. So I completely forgot that boss did that, and I was lucky I didn't die that first time, or at least get hit. Because I did have my special weapon, so... Alright. Now, one last final boss is the guy I was telling you about, but he just dies almost instantly. It's pretty much a joke. There, he's gone already. Now again, guys, this was normal difficulty, and normal difficulty. You can play it on hard mode, and hard mode is a little bit more difficult, obviously. But I had actually thought about doing hard mode immediately after doing this game, but it was so late. I was like, or so early for some people. I don't know. I just decided against it. So. So that basically wraps it up, guys. That's the end of M.U.S.H.A. We got the credits. It's gonna have a couple pictures showing or going across the screen. I believe if you finish it on hard mode, you actually get more to the ending. So I'm pretty sure you actually get a little more to the ending if you beat it on hard mode. There's this part, and then there's one more screen afterwards. But I think there's actually more screens if you beat it on hard mode, which is pretty cool. Gives some incentive to put... Sorry, I'm just fucking stumbling all over the place with my speech right now. I actually just woke up right before doing this video, so that might explain things. But and I still haven't woken up fully. I still need to take a shower and get ready for work, yada yada yada, all that boring stuff. But taking a shower always helps me wake up, and I probably should have done that first before doing this video, but it's okay. We're at the end now. If my poor speech would have turned you off, it would have done so earlier. If you're still listening now, then either you're special or I'm special. I don't know. As usual, guys, just post a comment below. Let me know if you watched this all the way through. And yeah, this is M.U.S.H.A. I was really not expecting finishing this without dying. I figured I could have done it at least without continuing, but without dying was another story altogether. But like I said, it's not an entirely difficult game. It's not too terribly difficult. So I mean, so long as you're used to the game, you will probably die a few times when you first play it. But I don't think it'll really take you all that long to get familiar with it and get decent at it. It's not a super hard game, like I was saying. So, but again, for you guys that you do finish it, you know, play it on hard mode because you do get that extra bit at the ending. I'm pretty sure you do anyways. It's been a long time since I've beaten it on hard mode, probably not since the 90s. But I played this game a lot. Well, I played it a lot in the 90s. It was, like I said, one of my favorite shooters back then. So yeah, hard mode can give you some extra play time. But yeah. So again, yeah, like I said, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you sticking around if you made it this far. I'll be back with some other long plays very soon. I've got a couple other ones cooked up. I'm going to try to do Trojan on the NES, Strider on the Genesis and Arcade, which I think I mentioned in my last long play. I've got Mega Man 1 coming for the NES. I might try to do that. I'm going to have to really get comfortable with that one again, get used to it again. Still trying to do Double Dragon on the NES, and without, well, obviously you can't continue in that game, so I'm still trying to do it, you know, in one go, which is kind of tough. And then someone requested Life Force for the NES, so I might actually try to do that as well. So watch out for those long plays in the future, guys, and if you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe. I've got more long plays coming, like I just mentioned, but I've also got a lot of other more casual affairs, as well as full-on reviews and specials, which take a lot more time to put together, so I don't put them out nearly as frequently, but they will be coming. So now there's probably a few more things I'd like to actually talk about in this game, but I'm going to go ahead and just cut this off because I've already kind of rambled on enough. But this was one of my personal favorite games for the longest time, and I still think it's one of the best Genesis games there is, based on your tastes. Again, not everybody's going to like this as much as other people, and not everyone's going to feel it's worth the amount of money it goes for. I forgot to mention that this is a pretty expensive game. Cartridge only will cost you at least $50 these days in the collector's market, and then a complete copy can run you upwards of $100. So so with that, that also is kind of a negative for some people. But if you have an EverDrive, if you're cool with emulation, just download the ROM, play it, you know, enjoy it, and then make a judgment. Don't even bring price into the ballpark. But with that, guys, yeah, I'm gonna just go ahead and wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be back with another one sometime soon. Take care, everyone.